Sir, you need to move to the back.
What seemed like a polite request rang with a chilling edge in the well-lit airplane cabin where everyone was settling in for Flight 298 to New York. Darius Wynn, a black man wearing a gray hoodie and simple jeans, looked up from his phone. He gazed at the flight attendant with calm eyes, showing neither resistance nor surprise.
Seat 1A, first class,
Darius replied, presenting his boarding pass on his phone. Sarah Blake, the chief flight attendant, frowned.
There must be a mistake. Let me see your ID.
The first-class cabin grew increasingly silent. 12 phones quietly lifted. A Twitter account named @EyewitnessNY had begun live streaming. To outsiders, Darius didn't look the part of a first-class passenger. No expensive suit, no crocodile leather luggage. Just an ordinary man, or in some eyes, someone who didn't qualify to sit in that front seat. When Sarah said, "The system shows you only bought a coach ticket," Darius didn't argue. He calmly showed the confirmation code from the app along with a platinum membership card. But her reaction didn't change. "Anyone can buy these online," she said softly but loud enough for the whole cabin to hear. Darius clenched the strap of his leather bag. Not out of anger, but because he knew what was really happening. And this time, he would not remain silent. An older man in seat 2B leaned over and whispered, "You should just go to your proper seat. Not worth the trouble." Sarah nodded slightly, her eyes satisfied to find someone who agreed. "Exactly. You might not be used to booking online. Mistakes like this happen all the time." The condescension dripped from every word. Darius said nothing. He opened his bag and pulled out a genuine platinum membership card, not the kind Sarah assumed was bought online.
Atlantic Premier status, 350,000 miles over 6 years. I pay for every trip myself.
Sarah glanced at the card dismissively.
Everyone has a card. I suggest you return to coach. Otherwise...
Before she could finish, Darius pulled out his phone and started recording.
2:43 p.m. I, Darius Wynn, am being asked to leave a paid first-class seat despite showing all proper documentation. Stop immediately!
Another voice interjected, firm and annoyed. Flight Captain Carl Morton stepped out from the cockpit.
You're disrupting the flight. I demand you vacate this seat immediately.
Sir, Darius replied calmly.
This is the seat I purchased. Here is my boarding pass, my ID, and my membership card. Everything is valid. We don't need to see them. I've flown for 20 years, and I know when someone's trying to scam an upgrade.
Tension thickened in the cabin. A woman in seat 3C began recording. A man in 4A looked up from his laptop, frowning. Something deeper than a boarding pass was at play, a silent form of discrimination unspoken but understood by all. Darius didn't resist. He calmly unlocked his phone, scrolled to a familiar contact, and dialed.
Yeah, I'm being held at the gate. Go ahead and start without me. I'll join the meeting in a few minutes.
His voice was light but deliberate. Captain Morton overheard the end.
Who was that? Who are you calling?
Darius ended the call. He didn't answer. As airport security was summoned, murmurs spread. A social media account @WitnessGate continued live streaming with the caption, "Black passenger publicly humiliated on Flight 298, no one verifying the truth." 2 security officers, a middle-aged man and a young woman, entered the cabin.
Excuse us, we need to verify this passenger's credentials, they said politely.
Darius responded calmly. He handed over his boarding pass ID and platinum card. Security Officer Victor Ramos carefully checked each item cross-referencing the system. Then he looked up, speaking slowly.
Ticket clearly says Seat 1A First Class. Name matches. Booking code is valid.
Sarah Blake tried to interject. But he could have found a way to hack the system. People like him, they know how to cheat. The air in the cabin froze. People like him. Victor repeated, his eyes narrowing. Even passengers who had been indifferent now began paying attention. No one said a word. Darius quietly stood as he was invited outside for further verification. But before walking off, his phone lit up. A message appeared. Emergency board meeting moved to room A. Waiting on you. The woman in seat 3C, now with over 1,000 live stream viewers, whispered, "A man like him, and they thought he was faking?" The waiting area at Gate 9 had never been this crowded. Over 20 passengers had left their seats gathering around the verification zone. Some were live streaming. Others were filming. The rest simply stood still, waiting for something significant to unfold. Janice Carter, the regional supervisor, approached with a composed, professional air. "What's going on here?" Victor Ramos handed her the paperwork. "All documents are in order, but the flight crew is still refusing to let Mr. Wynn return to his seat." Janice flipped through the boarding pass, the platinum member card, and his ID. As she examined each item, the tension on her face grew. "You said, your name is Darius Wynn?" she asked, her voice dropping slightly. "Yes," Darius replied calmly. "I'm requesting to speak to the regional director or a board representative." Janice gave a polite, slightly dismissive smile. "I'm the highest-ranking person here." "Then perhaps this might help," Darius said. He opened his leather case. Without another word, he pulled out a small metal business card and handed it to her. Janice took it. Her eyes immediately widened. The surrounding noise seemed to dissolve into silence as she read Darius Wynn, Chief Executive Officer, Wynn Global Equity, Strategic Stakeholder, 19% Ownership in Skylinks Airlines. A silence ripped through the crowd like a sudden storm. A few passengers leaned forward, trying to catch a glimpse of the card. One man murmured, "Wynn Global. They invest in everything: banking, transportation, energy." The at-Witness Gate live stream view count surged past 3,000. Comments exploded. "He's a major shareholder. They kicked their own investor out of first class." Janice looked back at Darius. Her face had gone pale. I had no idea." Darius simply smiled, cool, composed, and firm. "And that he said is exactly the problem." Before Janice could respond, her phone vibrated urgently. An internal call flashed with a red label, Priority 1, Executive Board. Darius glanced at his watch. "Right on time. You should take it," he said calmly. Janice put the call on speaker. A voice rang out, cold, authoritative. "This is Elliot Ramsey, CEO of Skylinks. Who is present with Mr. Wynn at Gate 9? "I'm Janice Carter," she replied, swallowing. "Regional Supervisor?" "Put Mr. Wynn on the line. Speaker on. I want everyone to hear." No one spoke. More than 30 people stood still, phones recording. Darius stepped forward. "Voice steady, Elliot. I'm here. Darius? What the hell is going on? I just left a board meeting and saw we're live streaming on Twitter with thousands of viewers. Your name is at the top of #Skylinks Discrimination." "It's simple," Darius said. "I was denied my paid first-class seat because I didn't look like someone who belonged there." Elliot paused. "Then, tell me this is a misunderstanding." "It's not. I have proof video audio, and 3,000 people are watching it live." Janice took a step back. Ground staff behind her avoided eye contact. Darius Elliott said more seriously, "What do you need from us?" Darius looked around at the faces, the eyes that had once been silent, but now waited for justice.
"What I need isn't an apology for me," he said.
Then for who, Elliot asked. Darius narrowed his eyes.
"For everyone who's ever been judged, dismissed, or excluded just because they didn't fit someone's image of who should sit up front." Gate 9 had become a public arena. Live streams exploded across social media. Many didn't know who Darius Wynn was, but they knew what they were witnessing was wrong. Darius Elliott said again, this time with genuine concern, "Give me a chance to make this right. What do you want us to do?"
Darius stepped forward, his voice now firm, no longer a request but a demand.
"I want 3 things. Immediately."
Everyone held their breath. Phones raised higher.
First, all personnel involved in discriminatory behavior, from Chief Attendant Sarah Blake to Captain Carl Morton, must be suspended immediately pending investigation.
Janice flinched.
Other staff exchanged uneasy glances. Second, Skylinks must launch mandatory training on unconscious bias, racial sensitivity, and passenger conduct within 30 days for all frontline employees. An elderly woman whispered, "That should have been done years ago." And third,
Darius paused, locking eyes with the camera, speaking to the thousands watching, a public apology.
Not to me, but to every passenger ever treated like an intruder just because they didn't wear a suit, didn't have the right skin tone, or didn't speak in the right voice.
Whispers filled the air. Some clapped quietly. Many looked moved. Elliot's sigh was audible.
"We'll do all of it. Today."
Darius nodded, not with triumph, but the calm of a man restoring a system long tilted against fairness.
Less than an hour later, Skylinks Airlines released a press statement across all media platforms. Skylinks formally apologizes to passenger Darius Wynn and the public for the unacceptable incident of racial bias on Flight 298. "We are committed to immediate and transparent action." On social media, the hashtag #dignity, in-flight started by @WitnessGate, surged with tens of thousands of shares that afternoon. At Wynn Global Equity headquarters in Chicago, Darius sat in a conference room watching data updates roll in. Skylink stock had dipped slightly after the incident, but began recovering once investors saw the firm's decisive crisis response. On the table lay dozens of emails from passengers nationwide. An Asian American woman shared she'd been searched 3 times in one trip because I didn't look trustworthy. A young Black student recalled being denied an upgrade despite holding a valid ticket. Too young for business class, they told him. One email made Darius pause. Angela Morales, a veteran flight attendant, wrote, "I've seen this happen. I've stayed silent. But because of you, I filed my first report in 19 years. Thank you for reminding me. Silence is complicity."
Darius sat quietly.
This was no longer about a seat or a business card. It had become a spark, a call to awareness, the first domino not to fall, but to rebuild. 3 weeks after the pivotal confrontation at Gate 9, Darius Wynn once again walked into the airport, this time for a routine business flight from Chicago to New York. Same airline, Skylinks. Same Flight 298. Same seat 1A. But the air was different. A young Black flight attendant approached with a warm smile. "Welcome back, Mr. Wynn. It's an honor to serve you today. If you need anything at all, just let me know."
Darius looked around.
Seat 2A held a Korean-American woman reading a magazine. In 3B, an older Latino gentleman chatted with his granddaughter. 4C was occupied by a casually dressed gay couple quietly laughing together. No stares, no suspicion, no one asking, "Are you sure you're in the right seat?" The flight passed quietly, but Darius's mind stirred. He opened his notebook and jotted a single line.
Change doesn't come from outrage. It comes from repeated patient systemic action. As the plane glided above the clouds, no one on board knew it had once been ground zero for upheaval, but they felt the quiet equality unspoken, yet very real. Upon landing, a fellow passenger leaned over and whispered, "Thank you. Because of you, I flew today without carrying fear in my heart." Darius smiled. He said nothing. Because for him, this story wasn't over. It was just beginning. A December afternoon, in a packed auditorium in Washington, D.C., Darius Wynn took the stage at the National Transportation Equality Conference with hundreds in attendance and thousands more watching via live stream. No dramatic lights, just a man in a deep navy suit speaking slowly, his voice carrying the weight of true consequence.
"Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "I'm not here today as a CEO. I'm here as a passenger, one who was misjudged simply because I didn't fit someone's idea of who should sit up front."
The room was silent. Behind him, a screen showed a graph reports of racial discrimination in air travel had dropped 63% in just 3 months. Next came a U.S. map highlighting 17 transportation companies, airlines, rail, and bus that had adopted the Wynn Protocol anonymous reporting bias training and public accountability. "We proved one thing," Darius continued. "That change doesn't have to begin in anger. It can begin with data, with courage, and with a refusal to stay quiet." In the front row, a woman raised her hand. She stood, voice shaking. "I'm Monique James, former Skylink staff. I used to look away, but thanks to you, I filed a report, and for the first time in 15 years, I felt seen." Applause erupted. Darius nodded. "We don't need a title to make change. We just need to know that silence is a choice, and we're choosing to speak." 2 years after Flight 298, a bronze statue was unveiled in the Central Hall of the National Civil Rights Institute in Atlanta. The inscription at its base read, "Darius Wynn, the man who sat in the right seat at the right time and said the right thing." The statue didn't depict a triumphant hero with a fist raised. It showed a man seated quietly in a front row chair, hands on his leather bag, eyes fixed forward. Around him, empty chairs waiting to be filled by those once pushed to the margins. Across airports nationwide, a civilian oversight program funded by the Wynn Foundation was launched. These trained observers monitor record and report incidents of bias, mistreatment, or disrespect toward passengers. Some are former airline staff, some are volunteers, some were once victims themselves. In a high school civics class in Detroit, a teacher played a clip of Darius confronting the airline CEO in front of thousands. She ended the lesson with a question, "If it were you, would you have stayed quiet like everyone else on that flight?" A brown-skinned boy in the back raised his hand. "I don't know if I'm as brave as him yet, but I know this, if I see something wrong, I won't stay silent." Darius's story never became a blockbuster film. It didn't need to. It's told in training seminars, leadership conferences, and classrooms. It's printed in books, shared on podcasts, and engraved in the hearts of those who once sat in the wrong seat, not because they were lost, but because others failed to see them. And every time someone stands up, writes a report, posts a story, or simply asks, "Why wasn't that person treated with respect like everyone else?" the story of Darius Wynn lives on.